These are the Value Up student lessons created by myself, Mike Donahue, produced in conjunction with the Shoe Club Nation and the Valuable Mindset.
The most powerful voice you'll ever hear is your own. It speaks in the quiet moments. It whispers in the choices you make. It writes the story you believe about who you are. But sometimes that voice becomes a critic, telling you you're not enough, painting your worth in shadows, building walls out of doubt, fear, and shame. What if you choose a different story? What if your self-talk became a spark instead of a cage? What if your words reminded you of your strength, your resilience, your unshakable worth? Because when you speak with kindness, you arise with courage. When you affirm your value, you unlock your potential. And when you tell yourself the truth, that you are worthy, capable, and needed, you create a life built on possibility. Your voice matters. The story you tell yourself matters. Choose words that lift. Choose self-talk that builds. Choose the story where you become everything you're meant to be.
Shut up. Shut up. Shut your mouth. Oh, doesn't that feel good saying that? I love saying that. I wish I could say that all the time when someone is annoying the crud out of me. I can just look them in the face and use those two words and just say, shut up. And then they do it. They just stop talking. They stop annoying me, right? Let's say it like an 8th grade girl. Ready? Shut up. Even saying it like that feels good. But to be really honest with you, the best time to say it is to yourself, is when those negative thoughts are coming and they're dominating your feelings about yourself, and they're accusing you, they're bringing shame, they're bringing guilt, and they're telling you things about yourself that are negative. That's a great time to say, shut up. Hi, my name is Mike Donahue, and you are on the Value Up lessons. And this month's theme is self-talk. We're talking about how to talk to yourself. That sounds really weird, but it's one of the best mental health tools you can have. Self-talk, learning how to say things to yourself that make sense, that are truthful. And this is going to be a great lesson. This is one of my favorite lessons, so I hope you enjoy it. I love this quote from C.S. Lewis. If you realized how powerful your thoughts are, you would fight to never allow another negative one. I don't think most of us realize how powerful our thoughts really are. I mean, look at this guy. This is the way I feel sometimes. It's like all these fingers pointing at me, and I do it to myself, right? If I make a mistake, I say something stupid, or I fail a test or whatever, all of a sudden I feel like these fingers are pointing at me, and it's all these voices saying, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you didn't come from the right family, you're not educated enough, you're not this enough, you're not that enough. And it's like it happens so fast. And that's what we want to talk about in this lesson, is how to grab a hold of those things, how to handle that when these thoughts come at such a rapid pace. Have you ever noticed that? How one bad moment can turn into a full mental spiral in about 5 seconds. And that's not because you're weak-minded, it's because your brain is faster than your mouth. Here's why. Most people talk at about 150 words a minute, but your brain can think thousands of words in that same minute. So that means that before you even say something like, dang, that was rough, your brain is already fired off. Why do you always do this? Everyone saw that. I'm such an idiot. I'll never amount to anything. That's why negative self-talk feels like it takes over. It doesn't dominate because it's true. It dominates because it's fast. Why this matters for negative self-talk? A single mistake can trigger dozens of negative thoughts in seconds. The brain doesn't pause to fact check. Lies take root fast before logic and truth can catch up. This explains why students often say stuff like, I don't know why I feel this way, or my brain just does what it wants, or I can't shut it off. It's not weakness, it's velocity. The speed of those thoughts is what's hard to control. Yeah, just going back to the speed of those thoughts, right? I mean, you're having a conversation with somebody, it's 150, 200 words a minute. If you're from Boston, it's a little faster because we talk fast. But bottom line is your brain is thinking at about 1,500 words a minute. And or plus. And so it's really possible to be having a conversation with somebody and having a conversation in your head about you at the same time. This lesson has been really important for me personally. I've been practicing self-talk for probably 30 years because I realized that a lot of the thoughts I was having about myself were just compounding on top of each other. And they were so fast, I just didn't even realize how frequent they were and how devastating they were. And so this is really important that, first of all, you understand that if you take an honest look at it, you probably have a lot of negative thoughts coming, more than you think you do. And negative self-talk is just so dangerous because it slowly changes how you see yourself. And like we've been talking about in these lessons, how you see yourself affects everything that you do. Let's recap on the lessons real quick. Lesson 1, we learned you were born with value. It never changes. You can't lose it. Lesson 2, we talked about feeling valuable helps you to act valuable. And then lesson 3, we said that mistakes can't take away your value. And then lesson 4, we told you that comparison destroys confidence. Let's add a little science to this lesson. The thing about your brain, when you keep telling yourself things like, I'm not good enough, I always mess this up, or I don't matter, your brain doesn't hear opinions, it hears facts because it's you saying it. Over time, those thoughts turn into beliefs and your brain starts hunting for proof, ignoring wins and zooming in on mistakes. Every time you say something harsh to yourself, you're reinforcing it neurologically. You are actually teaching your brain to believe something false about you. So in your mind, it's no longer an opinion, it's fact. Confidence drops, taking risks feels scary, and growth feels unsafe. Even small challenges feel huge, not because you can't handle them, but because the voice in your head has already decided you're failing. A mistake turns into, I am the mistake, or a setback turns into, this proves I'll never be good enough. And when you believe that, it changes how you act, what you expect from yourself, and what you think you deserve. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to a student after an assembly and they'll tell me, they made a mistake at a party or they did something that disappointed themselves. And this label came with this mistake, right? Loser, I'm not going to get into all the labels, but you know what they are, right? And then because they see that thing they did became the label. That's self-talk, right? That's your identity getting messed with. Your value gets messed with if you don't learn how to talk to yourself and tell yourself the truth. And we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about 3 things that you can do to combat those thoughts when they come. But before we do that, go ahead and look at your paper and answer those questions and do the exercise, and we'll see you in a bit. Okay, so we've established that your brain is fast. It thinks a lot of things negative about you, and sometimes we don't even know what's happening because they're so fast and they compound on top of each other. And so I want to teach you how to grab a hold of these thoughts and put them in the right place in your life. And so let's get into that. Section 2, retraining the brain. Catch it, check it, change it. Step 1, catch it. Because of the speed of those thoughts, you must get in the habit of catching them. Like we've discussed, thoughts are fast and they can become like a runaway train if you don't grab them and put them in the right place. I want you to think about a recent moment when you messed up. You felt embarrassed, anxious, or disappointed. What happened? What did the voice in your head say right after? That's an important time, right? Right when those thoughts come, whether you made a mistake or some anxious moment, somebody said something. We all go through these times when, all these thoughts just come flooding in at the same time. It's important that when that moment happens, you know what to do, right? Instead of, reacting to it and, maybe spouting off or, retreating on the inside, that you stop and grab a hold of those thoughts. And so the first thing that you want to do, you want to ground your body. Negative thoughts trigger stress. reset your body first, right? Put your feet flat on the floor. Take one slow breath in through your nose. Breathe out longer than you breathed in. If you calm the body, you will calm the mind. By doing that, you're pausing your mind, you're pausing those thoughts, and then you can name the voice. You can name those thoughts. You don't argue with it yet. You just stop letting those negative thoughts run unchecked. That's negative self-talk. You say that to yourself, right? Because naming it creates distance. Once it's named, it starts to lose its authority in your head. Catching it is such an important step in this because you don't even realize how fast those thoughts are coming and how many there are. I actually did this. I kept a journal for a while, probably like 3 weeks, 21 days. I did this where I just started writing down every time I thought a negative thing about myself. That was really important for me because I didn't realize, it blew me away when I looked at the journal and I saw how many words were said to myself and how frequent they were. And so catching it was kind of mind-blowing for me because I was like, wow, no wonder why I'm depressed sometimes because I'm always thinking these negative things about myself. So catching it is really important. The next step in this is checking it. Step 2 is check it. Well, what does that mean? To me, it simply means asking yourself the right question. Is this thought 100% true? When the thought hits, ask this. Is this a fact or a feeling? If it's a feeling, it doesn't get to run your decisions. You have to anchor truth in value, not performance. Yeah, from a value up perspective, that's where you have to go first, right? Is this thought that's coming, I have to examine it against my value, right? Is it trying to degrade me? Is it trying to unvalue me or whatever, trying to make me feel like I'm not worth anything because of these thoughts that keep coming, this mistake I made, whatever. I have to, that's the bedrock is, okay, wait a minute. How does this affect my value? Trace the source. Sometimes you can trace negative thoughts back to a person of significance that says something that echoes in your head. Ask yourself, why did they say it? Is this someone who fully sees my value? Why am I giving this person so much power? This one was huge for me because I had somebody of significance in my life that said one word actually that echoed in my head constantly. And that's the word I kept writing down in my journal. And the word was loser, right? My mom would say that to me sometimes if I made a mistake or got a bad grade or whatever. She would say, well, see, you're a loser, like your father. And I, that's a whole thing to unpack. And most of you have heard my story with, my mom and, that relationship was, pretty crazy. But when I look back at that, I had to go back and figure out why she was saying that. Did my mom really think that I was a loser? No. Was there some other things in her life personally that were triggering, certain thoughts about me and about men and about life because of her circumstance? Yes. And so when I began to do that and consider the source and consider that echo and why was it echoing inside of me? Well, she's a person of significance. She's my mom, right? That means a lot. But when I started looking at her pain and that concept that hurt people, I realized that my mom's pain and hurt was really driving a lot of these things that she said to me. And so they weren't really valid. They weren't valid in my life. And so when I began to take the power out of those statements and those words by telling the truth about them, it really helped me a lot. So considering the source is really important. If there's people in your life that have said some things that out of their frustration, out of their life hassles and, conflicts, then you really have to take that into consideration so you don't let those words and those thoughts become an echo in your own brain. Another important step in checking it is separating who I am from what I do. We've talked about this a lot, but this is really worth repeating because this is a very important step. Telling the truth means refusing to let a moment define your worth. If it attacks who you are, it's probably not truth, it's shame. I failed is different from I am a failure. I made a bad choice is different from I am bad. Truth honors accountability without attacking intrinsic value. You can own mistakes without beating yourself up. Let me say that again. You can own mistakes without beating yourself up. Really important. When you understand that your value is secure, then you don't have to let those thoughts beat you up, right? Because you know you're secure, you know you're fine. So you can take criticism. You can hear somebody, say, hey, you know what, there's some things you need to change. Or you can even tell yourself, coach yourself, there's some things I need to change here. But that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It's really important that you get that. The next step in this is to change it, right? What do we do to change those thoughts, right? We catch them, we check them with truth. Now we have to start telling ourselves the truth, and we have to start changing some of those thought patterns that get in our head. Okay, so here we go. We can't just catch it. We can't just check it. We have to learn how to change it. The first thing we do is replace exaggeration with accuracy. Statements like, I always do this, or I never do that, right? Or everyone. We have to turn those into, instead of always, it's this time. Or, I never do this. It's, well, I haven't done this yet, right? Or everyone's saying this. No, probably not. It's probably just a few people. Accuracy shuts down shame fast. The second step in this is coaching yourself, not bullying yourself, right? Start by talking to yourself the way you talk to someone you care about. Truth should sound firm and supportive. This is hard, but you're capable. You didn't handle that well, and you can do better next time. Your value didn't drop because today was rough. That was a bad choice, but that's not who you are. If it would crush someone else, it's probably not truth, it's shame. And if you're not there yet, then borrow someone else's voice, right? Ask, what would someone who believes in me say right now in this situation? Use their words until you can use your own. And the next step in changing it is practice truth before the moment hits, right? Remind yourself regularly, my worth doesn't fluctuate. Struggle doesn't mean I'm broken. Growth requires discomfort. Over time, repetition rewires reflex. Training your inner voice isn't about being nicer to yourself. It's about being truer to who you are. And when truth replaces shame, confidence doesn't have to be forced. It follows naturally. Training your inner voice is probably one of the most important things that you can do. Training your brain to think the right way, not mind over matter kind of thing, but really what it comes down to is not letting runaway thoughts just take over your emotions, right? So this is a really important step. And, I do it every day. I try to, catch it. I try to check it with truth, and then, try to change those thought patterns to be more in line with my value and honoring who I am as a person, not, some, weird version of myself. All right. So take the next couple of minutes and answer the next questions, and then I'll see you in a bit. Okay, so I hope this has been very helpful to you. I'd like you to take the next few minutes, if you have some time, in your classroom today, to do the exercise. There's a quick little exercise to do this, to catch it, check it, change it, and maybe write down some things that have been helpful to you in this lesson. Also, I'm including a 21-day value up challenge. Self-talk challenge that you can do, and I would highly recommend doing this. I've done this, and actually since I've been doing the training on this teaching and stuff, I've actually done it. In the last couple of days I've tried to write down some of the thoughts that are predominant in my mind, that just automatically come because of the speed and the velocity of those thoughts that we talked about. So I highly recommend doing that. I think it'd be great for you to do it, and hopefully that'll make a big difference in how you see yourself. And again, how you see yourself is how you treat yourself, right? The me you see is the me you'll be. So the more you can train your brain to see who you really are and the truth about you, instead of letting these negative thoughts dominate, the better. So hopefully this has been good, and we will see you in the next lesson.